My name is Emma Caldwell. I'm 16 years old. And up until a week ago, I thought I knew who I was. I live in a quiet neighborhood in Vermont with my mom, Clara. It's just the two of us. Dad died in a house fire when I was a baby. That's what Mom always told me. I never questioned it. Not once. She works a lot. She's a nurse, the kind that doesn't take sick days and never misses a shift, even if it's Christmas. She's strong, serious, and sometimes distant. Like her mind is always somewhere else. I figured that was just grief. Or stress. Or both. A week ago, my grandmother Rose died. She was Mom's mother, and honestly, she scared me a little. She was old-fashioned, strict, and always looked at me like I was something fragile that might break if spoken to too loudly. We weren't close. I didn't cry at her funeral. I didn't feel much of anything. Until I went up into her attic. That's where it all started. The day after the funeral, Mom sent me to Grandma's house to help clear out her things. It smelled like lavender and old books, and every creak in the floorboards made me jump. The attic was the last place I checked. Mostly because I didn't want to go up there at all. I was searching through boxes of baby clothes and letters tied in faded ribbons when I found it. A loose floorboard under a cedar chest. Inside, there was a small wooden box with a single envelope inside. It was addressed in shaky handwriting. To my daughter, Clara. If she ever dares to forgive me. I knew I shouldn't read it. It wasn't mine. But my fingers trembled as I opened it anyway. The letter inside changed everything I thought I knew about my family. Clara, I did it to protect you. Your father didn't die in the fire. I made you believe he did. I couldn't tell you the truth. You were too young, too broken already. I told everyone he was gone. But the truth is worse. I dropped the letter. My heart slammed against my ribs. I couldn't breathe. My dad didn't die? Why would Grandma lie? Why would Mom believe it? Unless she already knew. I left the attic with the letter tucked in my pocket, and 1,000 questions I didn't know how to ask. I didn't sleep that night. I kept the letter under my pillow like some cursed treasure, hoping it would turn out to be a dream. But every time I closed my eyes, I saw the words again. He didn't die in the fire. I thought about showing it to Mom right away, but something inside me hesitated. If she didn't know, this would destroy her. And if she did, that scared me even more. The next morning at breakfast, Mom was her usual self. Coffee in one hand, phone in the other, already dressed for a double shift at the hospital. I stared at her like she was a stranger. "You okay?" she asked, glancing up for barely a second. I nodded too quickly. "Yeah. Just tired." She didn't press. She never did. We weren't the kind of mother and daughter who talked about feelings over pancakes. We were more like polite roommates with shared DNA. After she left, I sat on the living room floor and read the letter again. This time, I noticed a small piece of folded paper tucked inside the envelope, like Grandma had added it last minute. It was an address. Just a street name and number. Bradley Owens, 19 Harper Street, Newton Falls. I didn't recognize the name, but something about it felt final. Like the letter wasn't just a confession, it was a breadcrumb. I typed the address into my phone. Newton Falls was 2 hours away. I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew I had to do something. Waiting felt unbearable. That night, I asked my best friend Leah to come over. "You look like someone ran over your dog," she said, throwing her bag on my bed. "What happened?" I handed her the letter without saying a word. I watched her face go pale as she read it. "Holy crap," she whispered. "Emma, this is insane. You think your mom knew?" "I don't know," I said. "But I need to find out. I found an address." Leah didn't even hesitate. "We're going, right?" I nodded. "This weekend." "Tomorrow." "You gonna tell your mom?" I paused. The weight of the question was heavier than the letter itself. "Not yet," I said. We left early the next morning. Leah picked me up just after 7, her old Honda groaning as it rolled up the driveway. I told Mom I was going to spend the day at Leah's aunt's lake house. Not a total lie, just not the right lake house. The drive to Newton Falls felt endless. The farther we got from home, the heavier the air felt. My stomach twisted every time I glanced at the envelope in my backpack. What if this guy's not even real? I said. Only one way to find out. Leah replied, eyes on the road. You ready? No. But let's go anyway. Newton Falls was small and quiet. The kind of place where mailboxes are painted and everyone's lawn looks like a magazine cover. Harper Street was near the edge of town, surrounded by tall trees and cracked sidewalks. Number 19 was a modest white house with blue shutters and a porch swing swaying slightly in the breeze. It didn't look like the kind of place secrets lived. I stood there frozen for a few seconds. You want me to knock? Leah asked. I shook my head. I'll do it. My hand trembled as I raised it. 3 light knocks. Then silence. A few seconds later, the door creaked open. A man in his early 50s stood there. Tall, weathered face, short beard. His eyes, gray-blue, landed on me and froze. Like he recognized me. Can I help you? He asked, voice low. My mouth felt dry. Are you Bradley Owens? His jaw tightened. Who's asking? My name is Emma Caldwell. I think you might know my mother. Clara. His face went pale. He looked like he'd just seen a ghost. Clara, he whispered. Then again louder. Clara Caldwell? I nodded. For a long moment he didn't move. Then he stepped aside. You'd better come in. Leah gave me a quick look. I nodded, and we followed him into the house. It was quiet, neat. Old bookshelves lined the walls. The air smelled like cedar and something faintly sweet, like cinnamon. We sat in the living room. He didn't offer us anything to drink. Just stared at me like I was some unsolvable puzzle. You're Clara's daughter, he said slowly. That would make you Emma. Yes. And you found the letter? I froze. You know about the letter? He nodded, rubbing his hands together. I told Rose to destroy it. I begged her. Why? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Why did she lie about my dad? He looked at me for a long time. Then sighed. Because your father didn't die in the fire. He ran. He ran. I echoed. From what? Bradley leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. His voice lowered, heavy with memory. From everything. From Clara. From you. From the fire. I swallowed hard. But why? What happened that night? It wasn't just a fire, he said. It was a cover. Leah stiffened beside me. I felt her fingers brush mine, steadying. Your father, Nathan Caldwell. He got into some serious trouble. Gambling mostly. But then he got mixed up with people who wanted money, and fast. The night of the fire. He was supposed to make a deal that went wrong. He was desperate. So he burned the house down? I asked, heart racing. No. That was someone else. Someone trying to send a message. Rose knew. She warned him. Told him to leave town. Told him to disappear for his safety and yours. I blinked. You're saying my grandmother helped him fake his death? Bradley nodded slowly. She hated him. Thought he'd ruin Clara. But she didn't want you caught in the crossfire. So she told Clara he was dead. Told everyone. And my mom just believed it? Rose could be very convincing, he said softly. She controlled the story from the start. Said it would be easier for everyone if Nathan was just gone. But why didn't she ever tell the truth later? I asked. Why let us live a lie? Bradley sighed. Because lies get heavier with time. And once they become your life, telling the truth feels like setting fire to everything all over again. Silence fell between us like a curtain. I stared at the floor, trying to piece together the broken image of the father I'd never known. Do you know where he is now? I asked. Bradley hesitated. No, he said. He left town right after the fire. I haven't seen him in over 15 years. But you were his friend? We were more than that, he said quietly. We were brothers. The room spun. My breath caught in my throat. You're my uncle? He gave a small, broken nod. I didn't want to get involved, he said. Rose made it clear. She told me to disappear too. But I couldn't leave. So I stayed quiet. Stayed distant. I didn't know she kept the letter until it was too late. I looked up at him, really looked at him. Do you think he's still alive? Bradley paused. If he is, he's not the man you're hoping to find. On the drive back, the silence was louder than any music could have been. Leah didn't say much. Just let me sit with the chaos now taking up space in my chest. My father was alive. Or had been. He'd faked his death, abandoned us, and Grandma had helped him disappear like a magician pulling off his final trick. I should have been angry. Furious even. But all I felt was hollow. Like someone had scooped everything I believed out of me and left the shell behind. You okay? Leah finally asked, glancing over. I didn't know how to answer that. So I just nodded. He seemed like he really regretted it. Your uncle, I mean. Maybe, I whispered. But that doesn't fix anything. When I got home, Mom was already there, early for once. She was sitting at the kitchen table, a mug of tea untouched in front of her. Something about the way she looked up at me made my stomach twist. How was the lake? She asked casually. Fine, I said, toeing off my shoes. Quiet. Leah's aunt say hi? Yeah, totally. A beat passed. Then she said, You know, Emma, I talked to Leah's mom today. My chest seized. She didn't know anything about a lake house. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. Where did you really go? Mom's voice wasn't angry. It was tired. Like she already knew the answer. I sat down across from her and reached into my bag. I pulled out the letter. Her eyes locked on it, and all the color drained from her face. You found it, she whispered. I nodded. Why didn't you ever tell me? She didn't speak for a long time. When she finally did, her voice cracked. Because it was easier to lie than to face what I didn't want to believe. So you did know. Not at first, she said. I thought the fire killed him. I really did. But then months later, Mom told me the truth, or part of it. Said he'd run. Said he was gone for good, and it was better for you if we never spoke of him again. And you just listened? I was 22, Emma. Alone, heartbroken, scared. And she said it was the only way to protect you from a man who never really wanted to be a father. My throat burned. You should have let me decide that for myself. Maybe you're right, she said. But I wasn't strong enough then. And after a while the lie became the truth we lived in. I stood up. I couldn't sit still anymore. I met someone today. His name is Bradley. He's your uncle, she said quietly. I know. You knew. Yes. But I asked him to stay away too. Why? She looked at me with tears in her eyes. Because you were my entire world, Emma. And I didn't want anything, anyone from the past taking you away from me. I didn't sleep again. Not even a little. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw my mom's face. Not the strong, unshakable woman I'd always known, but the one I saw tonight. Tired. Broken. Regretful. I wanted to hate her. I really tried. But I couldn't. Because she wasn't just the villain in someone else's story. She was a person, carrying years of pain I'd never seen until now. But that didn't mean I could stop. Not anymore. The next morning, I messaged Bradley. Do you think you could help me find him? He replied within minutes. I don't know where he is. But I might know someone who does. That was enough. I met Bradley at a coffee shop in the next town over. He looked nervous, glancing around like someone might be watching us. I called in a favor, he said, sipping his coffee. Old friend of Nathan's. Lives near Albany now. Name's Kent. Can we talk to him? I already did. He agreed to meet. When? Bradley gave me a long look. Today. If you're sure you want this. I nodded. I'm sure. Emma, finding him won't give you the closure you think it will. He wasn't a good man when he left. And people don't always change. I'm not looking for a father, I said quietly. I'm looking for the truth. Kent lived in a worn-down duplex outside Albany. He answered the door in a flannel shirt and jeans, his gray hair tied back in a low ponytail. He looked like the kind of guy who'd seen too much and trusted too little. So you're the kid, he said, eyeing me. You've got Clara's eyes. Do you know where he is? I asked. Kent didn't speak right away. He motioned for us to come inside. His apartment smelled like smoke and motor oil. Motorcycle parts were spread across the kitchen table. Nathan's not in the country, he finally said. He's been in Costa Rica for years now. Went off-grid. Lives with some woman he met down there. Has another kid too. My heart sank. He has another family? Kent gave me a look that wasn't cruel, just honest. People like Nathan don't look back, sweetheart. They burn bridges before anyone thinks to follow. Do you have an address? I might, he said slowly. But I need to ask. What are you hoping to get out of this? Closure? Revenge? Reunion? I looked down at my hands. Just answers. Kent sighed and stood up. He walked into the next room and came back with a worn notebook. I don't know if this is still good, he said, flipping through pages. But here. This is the last address I had for him. Tamarindo, Costa Rica. I took the paper in shaking hands. I had a name, a town, a lead, and I had a choice to make. I stared at the address Kent gave me like it was a key to a door I wasn't sure I wanted to open. Tamarindo, Costa Rica. I'd never been out of the country, never even been on a plane. But now I was seriously considering flying across the world to find the man who'd vanished from my life before I could form a single memory of him. That night, I sat in my room with the door locked and my laptop open, searching flights, hotels, maps. Tamarindo looked like paradise. Beaches, palm trees, sunlight so bright it almost looked fake. I wondered what kind of man could live in a place so beautiful while pretending the mess he left behind never existed. The next day, I brought it up to Leah. You're not serious, she said, eyes wide. You want to go to Costa Rica? I just want to see him. One time. Face to face. Emma, you're 16. How are you even going to get there? I have my passport. I found it in the drawer with Mom's papers. She got one for me when I was little, just in case. I renewed it last year for that school trip I didn't go on. Okay, but what are you going to tell your mom? I looked down. I'm not telling her. Leah crossed her arms. So what? You'll lie, disappear, hop on a plane, track down a stranger in a foreign country, and, what? Demand he admit he abandoned you? It's not about him. It's about me. I need to know what's real. I've spent my whole life in someone else's version of the truth. I need my own. She stared at me for a long time. Then she sighed. I'm not letting you do this alone. What? If you're really going to Tamarindo, I'm going with you. By the end of the week, we had a plan. I told Mom Leah's aunt invited us to Florida for a week, a late summer vacation before school started. I felt sick lying to her again, but the moment had passed for clean confessions. She smiled as she handed me cash for snacks and sunscreen. I almost cried. Bradley booked the flights. He didn't try to stop us. I think part of him wanted me to see for myself, to learn who my father really was, and wasn't. The night before we left, I stood outside under the stars, the cool air pressing against my skin. I held the letter again. The one that started it all. I whispered into the dark, please just let me find something true. And in the morning, I ran. The moment I stepped off the plane, the heat hit me like a wall. Tamarindo was nothing like Vermont. The air was thick with salt and flowers, and the sunlight bounced off every surface like it was showing off. Palm trees swayed lazily. Locals strolled like time had nowhere better to be. Leah was practically vibrating. I still can't believe we're doing this. We're actually here. Me neither, I murmured, adjusting the backpack on my shoulder. Inside was everything that mattered. My passport, Kent's note, and the letter. We checked into a cheap guest house near the edge of town. 2 beds, creaky ceiling fan, no questions asked. It felt like a movie, the kind where the main character finds something dangerous by accident. Only I was looking for it on purpose. We spent most of the next day asking around, slowly, casually. We didn't have a photo, just a name, Nathan Caldwell. Or maybe he wasn't even using that name anymore. Nobody seemed to recognize it. Not until we met the woman selling fruit from a roadside stand. Caldwell, she repeated, her accent soft but sure. You mean the American who lives near Playa Grande? My heart jumped. Yes. Maybe. Do you know him? She shrugged. He comes into town sometimes. Tall, beard, wears old sunglasses. Always buys bananas and leaves without talking much. Do you know where he lives? She pointed inland. Little house near the hills. Yellow roof. 10 minutes past the church, right at the broken fence. That was it. That night, I didn't sleep. Again. Leah stayed quiet, curled up on her bed with headphones. She knew I needed space. I lay there in the dark, thinking about everything that might be waiting beyond that broken fence. What if he didn't remember me? What if he did, and didn't care? What if he had a new life now with a new daughter, and I was nothing but a ghost knocking at the door? In the morning, we dressed in silence. We followed the fruit seller's directions. It wasn't hard to find. The yellow roof stood out against the green hills like a warning sign. I stepped up to the door. My hand hovered, shaking. I took a deep breath and knocked. The door opened. A man stood there. Mid-50s, tanned, shirtless, wearing swim trunks. He squinted into the sun, then into my face. "Can I help you?" he said, voice rough with age and maybe alcohol. "Nathan Caldwell?" I asked. He stared at me. "Who's asking?" "I'm Emma." A pause. A flicker of something, surprise, memory, regret, crossed his face. "Emma," he said slowly. "You're Clara's kid." I nodded. "Well, I'll be damned," he muttered. Then after a beat, "You shouldn't have come." He didn't invite me in. He just stood there, one hand braced on the doorframe, staring like I was some hallucination that hadn't faded yet. "You shouldn't have come," he said again, this time quieter. "I had to," I replied. My voice was stronger than I expected. I needed answers. He looked down, scratched the back of his neck. "That's the thing about answers, Emma. You might not like, and once you get 'em. Try me." He let out a long breath and stepped back, finally opening the door wider. "Come in, I guess. Not much to see, but it's cooler inside." The house was small. Simple walls, ceiling fan, a faded couch, surfboards leaned against the wall. The kind of place built for running from something. Or everything. Leah stayed outside, waiting by a nearby tree. I stepped in. My heart thudded louder than my footsteps. He sat across from me, grabbing a half-empty bottle of water from the table. "So 16. 17 in November. You look like Clara," he said. "Same mouth. Same eyes when you're mad." "You remember her that well?" "I remember everything. Doesn't mean I want to." "Then why did you leave?" Silence. He looked out the window. "Because I wasn't good for you. Or her. I was a mess. Addicted to too many things, money I didn't have, lies I couldn't keep straight. I burned everything I touched." "So you let everyone think you were dead?" "That wasn't my idea. That was Rose. Your grandmother. She said it'd be better if I disappeared than stuck around and wrecked what little future you had." "And you agreed?" "Eventually," he said. "After I ran far enough that I couldn't hear the guilt anymore." I stared at him. "You have another family now, don't you?" He didn't answer at first. Then he stood, walked to the counter, and picked up a picture frame. He handed it to me. A smiling woman, tan skin, long dark hair. A boy, maybe 6 years old, with a grin too wide for his face. "His name's Lucas," he said. "He's a good kid." I swallowed. The boy in the photo had his nose. My nose. Does he know about me? No. That word hit harder than anything else so far. "You just erased me?" "No," he said softly. "I remember you every damn day. I just didn't know how to be both things. A runaway and a father. So I chose one. And it wasn't me." He didn't argue. I stood. My fists clenched at my sides. "You don't get to pretend this was noble. You ran. You let them bury you and didn't even bother to dig yourself out." He looked older in that moment, tired in a way no beach town could fix. "You're right," he said. "But you came here. So what now, Emma?" I shook my head. "I don't know. But I didn't come for an apology. I came for the truth." "And now you have it." "Yeah," I whispered. "Now I do." I walked out of that house with the picture still burned into my brain. The boy Lucas, laughing like nothing had ever been broken around him. Leah was waiting under the tree, arms crossed, eyes searching my face. "You okay?" she asked. "No," I said honestly. "But I'm glad I came." We didn't say much on the walk back. Tamarindo's sunshine felt heavier now, like it was pressing down on my shoulders instead of lighting the way forward. That night, I sat on the beach by myself. The waves came in like slow, tired breaths. I stared out at the horizon, wondering how far I'd have to swim to leave everything behind. I thought seeing him would give me something, peace maybe, but it didn't feel like closure. It felt like confirmation. I really had grown up without a father. He wasn't dead. He just chose not to be there. I pulled out the letter one more time. Grandma's handwriting looked shakier than ever. I lied to protect you. It hit different now. She hadn't protected me from danger. She'd protected me from disappointment. From this. And maybe in her twisted way, she'd been right. We flew back 2 days later. I walked into the house quietly, expecting Mom to be asleep or at work. She was at the kitchen table, her phone in front of her. She didn't look surprised to see me. So, she said, voice low, Costa Rica. I froze. Leah's mom called. She saw your Florida vacation pictures and got suspicious. I checked your location. You didn't even try to hide it. I didn't think I'd be coming back to confess, I muttered. But you did. I nodded. I needed to see him. I needed to know. And her voice cracked. He's not who I hoped for. He's not coming back. He has a new life, a son. He didn't even tell them about me. Mom looked down. I thought she might cry or scream, but she just whispered, I'm sorry. I sat across from her, the weight of everything finally crashing over both of us. Why didn't you ever tell me you knew where he was? Because knowing doesn't make the absence easier, she said. It just makes it sharper. I thought if I erased the possibility, it would hurt less. For you. She looked me in the eyes. For you. I shook my head. I'm not a child anymore, Mom. You don't have to protect me from everything. I know, she said, but it's hard to stop trying. We sat in silence. This time it wasn't heavy. It was honest. What now? She asked. I reached into my bag and slid the letter across the table to her. We start from the truth. Things didn't magically get better after I came back. I didn't suddenly feel whole, or strong or healed. The truth doesn't fix you. It just stops you from wondering. And that was something. Mom and I talked more in the following weeks than we had. I walked in on Monday morning and felt like I was carrying a secret badge. Not because I'd found some dramatic truth, but because I'd survived it. Leah met me by the lockers with her usual crooked grin. You okay? She asked. Still processing, I said. That's code for. I cried in the shower again last night, huh? I laughed. Shut up. She linked her arm through mine. You're stronger than you think, Em. I didn't feel strong. I felt tired. But maybe strength wasn't about being unbreakable. Maybe it was about standing back up after the cracks. A few days later, a small envelope arrived in the mail. No return address. Just my name. Inside was a single photo, me as a baby, on a beach towel, sun hat too big for my head. And behind me, crouching low, was him. My father. Smiling. On the back a note. I didn't forget. I never will. D. No apology. No explanation. Just a reminder. I placed the photo in a box at the back of my drawer, not to hide it, but to keep it safe. A chapter I'd closed, even if it still echoed sometimes. I started writing after that. Just small journal entries at first. Memories of Grandma, my mom, the trip, the house in Costa Rica. Then it turned into essays. Stories. Things that helped me make sense of the mess. One day I wrote, we don't get to choose our beginnings, but we can shape what comes next. That became the first line of my college application essay. When I got the acceptance letter a few months later, I cried for a long time. Not because I got in, but because I'd made it. Past the grief. Past the lies. Past the silence. I was still healing. Still growing. But I wasn't lost anymore. Graduation day was bright and overwhelming. Caps in the air. Cheers ringing all around. But I felt a strange calm inside. Like I was finally stepping out of a long shadow. Mom was there, her eyes glistening with tears but smiling wide. Leah stood beside me, arms wrapped around my waist. You did it, Mom whispered as we hugged. We did it, I said. It wasn't just about finishing high school. It was about everything that had led me here. The lies, the fire, the trip, the truth. I never heard from my father again after that photo. No calls, no letters. Just silence. And that was okay. Because I had my own story now. My own family, messy, complicated, but mine. I looked at Mom and thought about how far we'd come. From secrets that nearly tore us apart to a truth that brought us closer. That summer, I wrote a final entry in my journal. The past is a story written in shadows. But the future, that's ours to write in light. And with that, I closed the book on one chapter and opened the next, ready to live it on my own terms.